So this morning, before I get started, I want to let you all know that YouTube gave me a strike. I only have one strike right now, but they gave me a strike because I mentioned the name of a former employee of their parent company who said some things that, let's just say, would tie into the fifth trumpet sound or the fifth shofar sound. And I'll get to that in a little while. And so I'm going to go straight into the topic at hand today. So what I wanted to point out to you, as you well know, your preachers have always claimed that the seals are opened first, 1 through 7, then the trumpet sounds, as they say, which are shofar sounds, big difference, happens next, and then after that comes the 7 last plagues. This is what you have been led to believe. And I'm here to tell you that if you put all of your stock in that narrative, that you may find yourself way, way behind it. And another narrative is that somehow the trumpets or the seals haven't even started yet. Well, I'm going to show you some things today that after we are done in this video, you're going to start to believe that we are a lot further on than you think. Okay, we'll first start with the seals. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. And one of the 4 beasts says, "Come and look." So, it wasn't like there was this great big vision before him. No, he had to go and look to see what was behind the seal. You see? And I saw a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow and a crown which was given unto him, and went forth conquering and to conquer. So I'm going to ask you a question, okay? Is it possible that this could have already occurred? Come on. Let's use our brains here. After the Lamb ascended, absolutely there was conquering going on. That's all that's been happening ever since. Let's go to the next one. The second seal. And when he had opened the second seal, yes, he had to go and look behind the second seal, saying, "Come and see." And there went another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat on therein to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and it was given unto him a great sword. Can you tell me a time after the Lamb ascended that there was not men killing one another? Does Carthage ring a bell? All the great crusades and the war with the Ottomans in the Middle Ages, and all the wars after that, between that and the 2 world wars. Come on, folks. Of course there's a possibility that this has already occurred. All right? The third seal. And when he opened up the third seal, I heard the third beast, living creature, say, "Come and see." And I looked. Yeah, he had to go and look. And lo, a black horse, and he that sat on it had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see that you do not hurt the oil and the wine. Now the question that I have is, how is it that people are immediately able to see that this is talking about famine, and they cannot see that these have already occurred? Now, the fourth seal. And when he had opened the fourth seal, and I heard a voice from the fourth living creature saying, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, Thantanos, and Sheol followed with him, and power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the field. Could this have already occurred? Absolutely, it could have already occurred. And when he had opened up the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of not God, but the word of Jehovah, and for the testimony which they held. Who were these? The disciples. And they cried with a loud voice. Remember, this is a vision he's looking at, saying, "Oh, how long, Jehovah, holy and true, do you not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?" And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season until their fellow servants. And I've told you, showed you over and over and over again that these are the last 2 prophets, the 2 witnesses. And their brethren, they're the brethren of the disciples, which means they are Jews, that they should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. Has this occurred? Well, their fellow servants, the 2 witnesses, have not been killed. But the killing of the fellow servants is not necessarily a part of the 5th seal. It's a pointing towards an event. That's what the 6th seal is. That occurs a little bit later. I mean the 5th seal, sorry. Now the 6th seal. And I beheld, and he opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and aster from heaven fell unto the earth. Now when you read it that way, I've done videos about this, you could literally mean nuclear weapons and meteorites or meteorites. As a fig tree casts her untimely figs, and when she is shaken with a mighty wind, and heaven separated like a scroll. Okay? And every mountain and coastland were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens, and in the rocks, and the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne. Hide us from the face of him. That means they see his face. That means he is now currently present. in this particular sixth seal, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is here. And who shall be able to stand? So clearly this hasn't occurred yet. All right? Now we go to the next one. The shofar sounds. Why am I skipping over the seventh? I want to show you that some of these things in each of the seals, the shofar sounds, and the plagues could possibly have already occurred. And I want to show you something at the end of this comparison that might shock you a little bit. The first messenger sounded his shofar, and there followed hail fire mingled with blood, and it was cast upon the earth, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Is there any possibility at all that this could have already happened? Can you prove it didn't happen? Well, you will say, well, history shows it didn't happen. History might not have counted it, might not have seen it, or it might have been written down, and it might have been lost. You'll see what I'm getting to in a minute. And a second messenger sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire. What is a great mountain burning with fire, folks? Any idea? It's a volcano. That is a mountain burning with fire. In the days after Yehoshua, the Moshiach, the Lamb, was raised from the dead, was there a mountain burning with fire that did this? Now, King James Version says was cast into the sea. That's not exactly what it says, folks. It could be to cast. It could be to throw lava, to throw fire into the sea, to rush, often in the weaker sense. Could it possibly mean to throw lava into the sea? Absolutely. Because the way King James Version is written is as if somebody with a great big hand took it up, uprooted it, or took it out of the dirt and threw it into the sea. That's not what happened. It either slid into the sea or it cast the burning fire into the sea. Now, or laid into the sea, lying sick, poured into the sea. Oh, look what we have here. We have something that we have seen a lot of. Volcanoes pouring lava into the sea. And the third part of the sea, not the whole sea. And when they're talking about this particular sea, they're always speaking of the Mediterranean Sea. Became blood. So 1/3 became blood. Why? Why did this happen? Was there a chemical reaction that occurred? And a third part of the creatures which were in the sea that had life died, and the third part of ships were, it says, destroyed It could be to utterly destroy, to spoil, to corrupt, properly, thoroughly corrupt, totally degenerate, disintegrate, waste away, the decaying influence of moral, whatever, or utter corruptness. So, did it sink all the ships that are in the sea? It ruined. It ruined a third of the ships. Now let's go back to the third part of the sea became blood. Is there a possibility that volcanic eruption can cause a red tide? Let's look at this. Article here from Columbia Climate School. State of the Planet. The surprising way a volcanic eruption fueled a bloom of ocean algae. Okay. When Hawaii's Kilauea volcano erupted in 2018, it destroyed some 700 homes and sent hundreds of millions of tons of lava pouring into the ocean. Well, that's what Vesuvius did, creating billowing clouds and explosions along the coast. Soon, satellite imagery revealed something else happening. Apparent huge blooms of marine phytoplankton popping up. Now, let's see if it shows in here about a red tide. You see, you can see a little picture of this. Yep. Something about a fertilization mechanism that no one had thought of before. They say that lava poured into the ocean, stirring the pot, plunging as far as 1,000 feet below the surface. Down there in the cool depths, nitrate from dead organisms tend to collect and mostly stay there. The lava heated the water, causing it to rapidly well up. The once welled up water hit the zone where the sunlight penetrates. Nitrate-hungry diatoms took advantage and quickly multiplied, and confirmed of this idea soon after the eruption stopped, the algae bloom subsided. So, now we're talking about algae blooms and red tide. Is a red tide an algae bloom? A red tide is one type of harmful algae bloom. And there you have it, folks. Yes, volcanic eruptions do cause a red tide. Was this red tide covering the entire Mediterranean Sea? No, it was not. It was 1/3. Now, so we have an instance where a lot of ships were ruined, not necessarily sank, but, you know, they tried to save a lot of people over there in Herculaneum and Pompeii, and inches and inches and inches, possibly feet of ash laid on top of those ships and ruined them. And the third messenger sounded, and there fell a great star from the sky, burning as it were a lamp, a meteorite, and it fell upon the third part of a river, upon a spring of water. See, King James Version says the fountains of water, as if it's all the way around the world. When you read it in Greek, that's not what it says. It says upon a third of a river and upon a spring of water. And the name of the star is called wormwood, and a third part of water. And this is probably drinking water, probably around Rome, became woodworm, and many men died of the water because they were made bitter. Now, and here's the reason why I say it was probably Rome. When I say Rome, I mean the Roman Empire. Now the fourth messenger sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so that a third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third of it, and the night likewise. Now, those of you who studied the volcanic eruption of the double volcanic eruption of 536, and I did a video on this, and they accurately described how a third of the day was lost for 18 months. Third of the day of the sunlight. They described it exactly as that. I did a video on that. You can go down the rabbit hole, which is my YouTube channel and my BitChute channel. And incidentally, folks, you probably should go ahead, if you're subscribed on YouTube, and I don't tell anybody to subscribe to my channel, but if you're subscribed to YouTube, I would encourage you to subscribe to my BitChute channel, because YouTube is probably going to shut down my channel one of these days. Okay? Just giving you a heads up. So what I want to do is look at this. Why much of the world went dark for 18 months in 536. Now, now in the year 536, much of the world went, was it all of the world? No. But much of the world went dark for a full 18 months as a mysterious fog rolled over Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. Okay? And they call it the worst year to be alive. And I think it might have been in history.com, but I don't remember which article it was. But the historians back in the day described it as losing a third of the day in sunlight. But I will go briefly into it just so you can see here. Along with more than half of more than a year of literal darkness, the solar dimming served up cold, starvation, economic stagnation, and plague. Plague? What do you mean plague? The bubonic plague. So, right here we have a lot of the seals being described. Okay? Starvation, you know. Well, we have the starvation by the fourth seal. I believe it is. Yeah. The third and the fourth seal. Okay? Now, let's go then and continue. Verse 13, and I beheld, and I heard a messenger flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by the reason of the other voices of the shofars of the three messengers which are yet to sound. All right. Then we go to the fifth messenger. And I saw, and this was the one on the video last week that got me a strike. Me talking about the fifth shofar sound. Okay? I saw a star fall from the sky unto the earth, and to him was given the key to the Abyssos. What is the Abyssos in Greek? It's the Mediterranean Sea. The Abyssos well. Well, it is a well. That's what it is. And he opened it up, and there arose a smoke out of the well, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit of the well, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. But is it really exactly as the scorpions of the earth have power? Let's have a look. And it was commanded that they, it's not the scorpion part that was not like what was going on. It was the locust part. See, locusts, they eat every green thing that's on the earth that they can eat. They gorge themselves upon every green thing, right? So they had power like scorpions had power. What kind of power do scorpions have? Scorpions produce a venom that is paralyzing. Okay. It's like a nerve agent. You can look that up. I've done this. I've talked about this many times. Look it up yourself. It is like a nerve agent. And it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth. Yes, locusts eat the grass of the earth. But these were commanded not to hurt the grass of the earth. So they weren't locusts. They came out of the smoke. They looked like locusts, but had power of scorpion. But only, neither any green thing nor any tree, but only those men which do not have the seal of Jehovah. The cross is not the seal of Jehovah, it is the mark of the beast. The seal of Jehovah is his name. If you pray to Abba Jehovah, you have his name in your forehead. Okay? And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented for 5 months, and their torment was as a torment of a scorpion. That's right. A nerve agent. And when he strikes a man, and in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it. And so when I elaborated on this, where certain people claimed that they were able to give mankind eternal life, and when I pointed out based upon what, that's when they gave me a strike. So I'm essentially doing this video over. And shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Does that mean they cannot die? No. It's just something is in them now, surreptitiously, making it difficult for them to die. Now, you got to remember, folks, they have in Europe, in a lot of Europe, there is a ban, a lot of Europe, not a whole of Europe, there's a ban on guns. And there's even restrictions on knives. Did you know that? Alright, and the shapes of the locusts were like horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads was looked like a crown of gold, or, you know, a king's crown. And on their faces were the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of a woman, and their teeth was as the teeth of lions, and they had breastplates. A breastplate of iron. Oh, so it was an iron implement that could fly like a locust. Okay, it had teeth of lions. It says it has hair like a hair of a woman. What does that mean? I just thought of something. The Russian helicopter. I kept thinking Apache helicopter, but then the Russian helicopter, a battle helicopter. The sound of their wings are like the sounds of chariots of many horses running to battle. Well, that's clearly the sound of a helicopter, because that's exactly what a helicopter sounds like. So, Russian attack helicopter, we'll start with that one. I'm looking for one of the older ones. I suppose it's possible. If you look at this a certain way, this may look like hair. That's what I'm pointing out. Okay? Has the face of a man. What is this? Do I see eyeballs and a mouth? Is that what I see? You see what I'm saying, folks? Now, let's look at the teeth. Mouth like a lion. Does it say teeth? Well, let's see. Flying tiger. All right, so we see airplanes with teeth on them, but let's look at Apaches with teeth. All right, there you go. Okay? Apache helicopter with teeth. Well, if I can get a picture up. Of course, it's not going to let me. But you get the general idea, folks. Now, this was especially popular in the Vietnam War, and I think it was also in the Korean War. In fact, I think they did it in Japan as well. Now, I suggested years ago that this could have already occurred. It's possible, because I did a video showing evidence that the British and the U.S. did use what do you call that, nerve agent in Korea in the Vietnam War, and the U.S. and the British vehemently denied it. Okay, but the part, in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it. See, I wonder if this is still in the future, right? Now, you need to go to BitChute and watch the last video on there, because there's a lot of information, and one of them was concerning who is Abaddon, Apollyon, and you will find out that that is what they call Jesus today. I gave proof of that. So the sixth shofar sound. And the sixth messenger sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before Jehovah, saying to the six messengers which had the shofar, loose the four messengers which are bound in the great river Euphrates. The 4 messengers were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. The number of the army of the horsemen were myriads, or two, not 200, but 2, myria, that means 2, 10,000, 10,000. I heard the number of them. It does not say 200 million. Does not say that. Okay? Do we know what the number is? Well, I don't speak Greek, so I don't know what 2, 10,000, 10,000 means. Is it just 10,000 plus 10,000? Or is it 10,000 times 2 plus 10,000 times 2? And these appear to be operating. It says, I saw the horses in the vision, and not them that sat on them, to be seated on them, had breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone. And I have discussed this often, the colors of the ribbon of St. George, or Gog, because, yes, folks, Gog is the name for George. And the heads of the horses were like heads of lions. So horses have narrow heads, lions have wide heads. And out of their mouth came fire, smoke, and brimstone. And I have often described these as YARS ICBM nuke launchers. For the it came out of the mouth, for their power is in their mouth and in their tail. So when you see an ICBM, a mobile ICBM, the missile lays down in a mouth. That's right. And then it raises up out of the mouth to launch. For in their tails, for their tails were like serpents' tails, and those tails had heads, warheads. And it's them that they do hurt. And the rest of the men that which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of their works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone, and of wood, that can neither see nor hear nor walk, neither repented they of their murders nor of their sorceries. And this is also what got the strike on my last video, which is why you need to go to BitChute and watch it, and you will get a lot of context if you do. Nor of their fornications, nor of their thefts. So the question I have is now, is there anything in here that matches with this? There is something. And the asters fell from the sky unto the earth. Now, what would happen if asters fell from the sky to the earth? So much. Now, if it was like one of the earlier meteorites that fell, or if it was like the one that caused the flood, that's right, or if it was, what would be another one? I can't. Here, oh. No. Now, what I'm saying is, let's look at this for a second. fell into the earth even as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when it is shaken of a mighty wind. That's a lot of meteorites falling from the sky and striking the earth. How about the meteorites that came down and struck Sodom and Gomorrah? What I'm saying is, if it was that bad, it might destroy much of the earth and kill a lot of people. Well, what if they were nuclear weapons? What if they were? Is there scripture that points to that addresses nuclear weapons? Yes, there is. It's in Zechariah 14. Okay. Now the plague, wherein Jehovah will strike the people who have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes. Yes, while they are standing on their feet. And their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. How does this occur? He shows how it occurs, what happens. In that day a great tumult from Jehovah shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. This is caused by a great world war. In the last days, when the time of the Gentiles comes to the end. We are witness right here, nuclear weaponry. And so, asters from the sky fell into the earth. Well, could nuclear weapons be described as asters from the sky? Of course, sure they could. Just as a star from the root star probably as strewn over the sky. As strewn over the sky. Well, stars are strewn over the sky. Well, when they start their nuclear launches, those are strewn over the sky too, right? All right. So, nuclear weapons falling out of the sky, strewn over the sky, is also an accurate description of stars. Now, but look what it says right here. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who is able to stand? So we know that the sixth seal is at the time of his great wrath. It is the day of wrath is come. Okay, let's just keep that in mind. All right. Now we go here and we say, do we see where it says the day of his wrath is come? Right here. In the sixth trumpet sound. No, not yet. But if we go to the two witnesses, we see The power will be given to the two witnesses, a day for every day that they were sacking Jerusalem, on the Gentiles. No rain upon the earth. And every sort of plague. So, it could be concluded that the two witnesses, as I have pointed out, using the scripture in Luke 21, it says he's going to send his messengers to the four winds of the sky to gather the elect. Isaiah 46 and verse 4, I believe it is, Israel mine elect. Isaiah 66, last half, points out fugitives that are going to force the Gentiles to gather up all Israel out of their own lands and bring them to Israel with plagues, as it says in Isaiah 66. They're going to see his glory. Just like the Pharaoh and the Egyptians of Egypt saw Jehovah's glory with the plagues. Right? So this is occurring within the sixth shofar sound right here. Okay. Then the seventh shofar sounds. Now there is something that is written. Now watch this. It says right here, and when the dead bodies, they're going to, the beast that ascended out of the Mediterranean Sea, that's Rome, will make war against them and overcome them and kill them, and their dead bodies shall be in the street of the great city. Jerusalem was never called the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt. Rome was the one who brought the Jews into slavery. Therefore, Rome is figurative Egypt. And it says, where also our master was crucified. Our master was not crucified in Jerusalem. He was crucified outside of Jerusalem. And right here, outside the temple, the court which is outside the temple, cast out and measure it not, for it is given to the Gentiles. So this is in reference to outside the gates of the city being to the Gentiles. Now, so then the seventh messenger sounds. What happens? So if we go to Revelation 10 and verse 7, we see it says, but in the days of the voice of the seventh messenger, when he shall begin to sound, that is when the time of the sixth shofar sound is over, and when the seventh shofar begins to sound, the mystery of Jehovah will be completed, finished to fulfilled. So, these two messengers are raised from the dead right as the seventh shofar begins to sound. Okay? So now what I want to do, I got to go back. Fun, what in the world? What am I doing here? Okay. Now we go to Revelation 16. Now the first 6 bowls of wrath. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 messengers, Go your way and pour out the vials of the wrath of Jehovah, not God or God. To use another name of another so-called deity, as they say, in place of Jehovah is blasphemy. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore, a wound, an ulcer, a festering sore, a wound. The very first one upon the men which had the mark of the beast, the cross, and them that worship his graven image. Now, could this possibly have occurred? The answer is yes, and I'm going to prove it to you. Bubonic plague is the most common form of plague and is caused by the bite of an infected flea. Plague Bacillus y. pestis enters at the bite and travels through the lymphatic system to the nearest lymph node, where it replicates itself. The lymph node then becomes inflamed, tense, and painful. It is called a bubo. Do you know what a bubo is? Well, is this not going to pull up? Okay. Bubo. What is a bubo? No, I didn't say bubonic plague. I don't know why Google does this to me. A swollen, inflamed lymph node in the armpit or groin. Look at this. Look how nasty that looks. Buboes are a symptom of the bubonic plague and occur as painful swellings in the thighs, neck, groin, or armpits. They are caused by bacteria from flea bites through the bloodstream to the lymph nodes, where the bacteria replicate, causing the nodes to swell. Plague buboes may turn black and necrotic. You do know what necrosis is, don't you? That's when your flesh rots. So let's read it again. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a bad, evil, toilsome, bad, evil, wicked, malicious, laborious. Why was it laborious, folks? The amount of people that they buried and died from the bubonic plague. In fact, there are calculations, some claim a third, but some claim 3/4 of the European population died from the bubonic plague. And it was mainly in Europe among the Christians, the Roman Christians. And the second messenger poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as a blood of a dead man. We just read about the burning mountain causing a third of the sea and a third part of the living creatures in the sea to die. But this right here says all living. Is it every single one of them? Or is it all that are within a third of where the blood, in other words, we read that a great burning mountain cast lava into the sea and caused everything, every living soul where the blood was, to die. We read that in the what was it, the second shofar sound, was it? And the third messenger poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountains of water, and they became blood. Now, let's go back and look a little bit. Now, a second messenger sounded, as it were, a great burning mountain with fire was cast into the sea, or cast lava into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. Here, right there, and the second messenger poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of it. Does that look familiar? Yes, it does. Could it be the same thing? Possibly. Now the next one. The third messenger poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountains of water. And the third messenger sounded, and there fell a great star from the sky, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third of the rivers and the fountains of water. Remember, this is what he saw. Are they similar? Yes, they are. Now this right here is perplexing to me. Because it says, and the fourth messenger poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And that the men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of Jehovah, which had the power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. But in the fourth trumpet sound, or fourth shofar sound, right here, it appears to be just the opposite. So that third part of them were darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. Is there a time in, let's say, Europe, oh, enlightened Europe, where this event was recorded? Which one? This event right here. There is something about how North and Saharan Africa, there are stories about how they were once lush and green. And Europe even had maps showing that they were lush and green. I mean, there's a whole rabbit hole you can go down. You go on YouTube and you can find those things. Now, Egypt has always been, except for where the Nile is, has always been a bit arid. Remember, don't forget, Egypt for 7 years of famine fed the entire civilization in those days. Could Egypt do it now? No. So something happened in above Saharan Africa in those days to cause it to be desert wasteland. Is there a possibility it was this? Sure. Now, take a look at this. And the fifth messenger poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast. Oh, this would be in Europe, sure enough. And his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain. Pain from what? Was it from 536, where darkness rolled over Europe? Was it this, where much of the world went dark for 18 months in 536? The ninth plague of Egypt was...
I got something to show you. It's called Fox Local.
Why?
It's where you can stream.
The ninth plague of Egypt was complete darkness that lasted for 3 days. But in the year 536, much of the world went dark for a full 18 months as a mysterious fog rolled over Europe. Yes, the kingdom of the beast. The Middle East and parts of Asia. That's right. Am I saying that the first shofar sound is exactly the same as the first seal? Is exactly the same thing? No. What I'm saying is many of these things have already occurred. I am suggesting to you that. What I'm trying to tell you, folks, is you need to be ready. Now, when I get to the sixth seal, the sixth shofar sound, and the sixth vial of wrath, you're going to see something that is going to be very, very hard to ignore. Sixth seal. I beheld when he opened up the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Remember, Yoel 3 says, when you see this, it is the day of Jehovah's wrath. Yoel 2 says the same thing in the last 2 verses, if you want to read it. And asters or things were strewn over the sky and fell unto the earth, like a fig tree cast her untimely figs, which is shaken with a mighty wind. And heaven departed as a scroll when it is... I've gone over this before. Is it rolled apart or rolled together? This says rolled together. But what we're describing is as apart. Because from an explosion, it says, and heaven parted. As a scroll when it's rolled together. I don't know, maybe that's a nuclear explosion. Who knows? And and it says all mountain and coastlands were moved out of their places. What on earth could have caused that? I'm still suggesting nuclear weapons. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the den and in the rocks of the mountains, and said, Mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne, and from the Lamb, wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is here. So this occurs in the great day of Jehovah's wrath. All right? So we can go to Yoel 2 and 3. All right. It occurs right here. I will show wonders in the sky and in the earth, blood in the earth, blood in the sky, and fire and pillars, or its Timara says palm-like columns of smoke. All right? Blood in the sky, blood in the earth, palm-like columns of smoke. Accurate descriptions are being given, folks. Let's not ignore the obvious. Facing the great and terrible day of Jehovah. So clearly, this right here is the day of Jehovah's wrath has come. So this is absolutely 100% accurate for the day of his wrath has come. Now, let's go look in. We saw right here where the four messengers were loosed, and you have a third part of men killed by fire, by smoke, by brimstone, which came out of the mouth of what looks to be that they have the colors of fire on its breastplate, and jacinth and brimstone. Jacinth is black and yellow or black and orange. Look it up for yourself. But in this case, it's brimstone. So then if you go and look at Yars ICBM, and what do you see? That's not the one I'm looking for. Let's go to pictures, because they're showing an old one where it was orange. I want to show you the one that has yellow on it, like this one. This is the updated version. So what we have here, I hope. All right, there we go. So we have the color of fire right here, this red and white star, and then you have the color on its breastplate. You have the mouth where its tail sits down on. It's the powers in its tail and in its mouth. There's the mouth right there. You have the color of jacinth, and it would be of brimstone. All right? On its breastplate, the color of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone. So jacinth, let's look up jacinth. I've done this many times, but I'm happy to do it again. All right, so you see this jacinth has all three colors: orange or red, yellow, and black. Some of them are orange and black, and some of them are yellow and black. Well, that is yellow according to here, because it says brimstone. And there you have it, folks. And that which comes out of the mouth and out of their tail kills a third part of men. All right? Do these shoot things up to the sky? Yes. Could then they be the things which are described in the sixth seal when it comes to and a scattering from out of heaven falls unto the earth? As a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken with a mighty wind? Yes. And so you have Yoel 3 talking about facing, not before, but facing the great and terrible day. So this is clearly describing this event right here. But also, it is also describing because of blood in the sky, blood in the earth, and palm-like columns of smoke, nuclear explosions. So it's describing this here too. So, we have here, and the sixth messenger poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the leader, a king of not the east, but Anatoly. Anatoly does mean east. But Anatoly is Turkey today. Anatoly is prepared. Prepared for what? Because he's going to participate in this very next battle. He's going to be a participant. Not the only one. Anatoly, that would be Turkey. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of devils, working wonders, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them into the battle of the great day of Jehovah Almighty. Now, let me show you something, folks. This one thing that's going to really make you think now. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. But why does he insert that in this particular vial of wrath if the 7th trumpet has already sounded, and the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised? And it says that when the 7th trumpet begins to sound, all of these things will be fulfilled and finished. Then how is it that he is saying, behold, I come as a thief in the 6th bowl of wrath? He comes as a thief in the 6th seal as well. Fallenness and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is coming. Who shall be able to stand? And there you have it, folks. So you think you know how it's going to turn out. Using your preacher's Christian narrative, if you use their narrative, folks, you are going to be this guy. Who is not watching. and not keeping his garments. And you'll be walking around naked. You will not be ready. And he gathered them into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Har Megiddo. You know where Har Megiddo is? It is in northern Israel. So this would be the Gog-Magog invasion, is what it would be. Okay, now it is done. Now we go to the seventh shofar sound. All right, hold on. So we see Babylon's fall right here in, I believe, the seventh shofar sound. See if I can find it. Two witnesses. Okay, the seventh shofar sound. All right. Now we go. Now we know where it's at. So, the harvest of the earth occurs in the seventh shofar sound. The winepress of the wrath of Jehovah. All right? And so you see, in the seventh shofar sound, the Lamb is standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having Jehovah's name written in their forehead. But it's not just them. But there's also, if you read, if you go back to here, you will see 144,000 in the seventh seal. Not only that, and these are of all of the 12 tribes of Israel, including Dan. I went over this before, how they counted Joseph twice. They said Joseph and then they said Manasseh. Well, Manasseh is Joseph. You can't count Joseph twice and then leave out Dan. It says right here, were sealed 144,000 of all, every tribe of Israel. That means Dan too. Okay? And when the tribes of Israel are counted together as 12, Ephraim and Manasseh are counted as Joseph. Okay? Now, then you have the great multitude. So these are just the 144,000 that are to serve Jehovah and Yehoshua. But these are the rest of Israel. The rest of Israel and Gentiles who are grafted in among the branches of Israel. And this occurs when? In the seventh shofar sound. and and I'm sorry, it's, what does it say? It says in the seventh seal, all right, then you have the seventh shofar sound, right? And right here in the seventh bowl of wrath, here's what he says. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. They need to be following the Moshiach at this point in time. So, I believe that the sixth seal, the sixth shofar sound, the sixth vial of wrath happens at the same time. It is clear that the seventh seal, the seventh shofar sound, and the seventh vial of wrath happens at the same time. And if we go, watch this. In the seventh vial of wrath, and that great city was 3, became 3. How did it become 3? Well, Rome became 3. The first Rome, the second Rome being Constantinople, look it up, and the third Rome. What is the third Rome? The third Rome is Moscow. Just Google third Rome. Okay? And the 3. And the cities of the Gentiles, cities of the Gentiles fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before Jehovah to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Now, if we go to right here, in the seventh shofar sound, what do we see? Okay, we're somewhere in here. Oh, I just saw it. It's right there in front of me. There it is. Verse 8. And there followed another messenger saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she had made all the Gentiles drink of the wine of the wrath of... It's the same thing! Folks. Now, I want to go to war news. Very important. All right. Headline. Poland, France, Britain, and Germany gave Ukraine permission to hit targets deep inside Russia with NATO weapons. But the United States did not. I find that to be very weird. Something very strange is going on here. I am not able to put my finger on it, but something is very strange, because the United States did not authorize, according to this, did not authorize this. So Poland, France, Britain, and Germany gave Ukraine permission to hit targets deep inside Russia with NATO weapons. They lift all restrictions on the use of NATO weapons. Come on. Macron just announced France's support hitting military sites used to bomb Ukraine in Russia. This is huge. The first time a major NATO member has the balls to do it. Congrats, Macron and Joe Biden. What the hell are you waiting for? This is exactly my point. Now, there's something else going on here. Here it is right here. I want to look at this one and then look at this one. Dangerous development. NATO blinds command and control system of Russia's nuclear forces. Kiev bombs strategic radars. Is NATO taking measures for a nuclear first strike? Ukraine shot down a second radar of Russia's nuclear early warning and combat system, attempting to shoot down another one as well, with Moscow expecting a fourth radar station to be hit as well. And it goes on to describe all of this. Okay? Includes the entire southern direction from Saudi Arabia to central China. It controls the sector for it's just a huge area of radar. While Russia initially reported that the radar was not hit, satellite images show that it has been damaged. Okay, so the suggestion is that NATO is preparing for a first strike on Russia, first nuclear strike. Now, FSB says to Putin, NATO is training to hit us with nukes. Now they threaten the very existence of the Russian state. We are approaching the point of no return. The head of border service of the Russian Federation Security Service made a very disturbing revelation to the Sputnik agency, indicative of where the increasingly escalating Russia-Ukraine NATO war is heading. In a new story making the rounds in Russian media, the Russian official confirmed that NATO forces are conducting nuclear strike simulation exercises within striking distance of Russian territory. NATO is training to strike Russian soil with nuclear weapons near its borders, says Vladimir Kulesov. He added, near the Russian border, NATO's reconnaissance activities are increasing. The intensity of the operational combat training of the alliance troops is increasing, during which they are working out scenarios for conducting military operations against the Russian Federation, including the launch of nuclear attacks on our territory outside. Folks, you should see by now that the handwriting is on the wall. Am I saying that the second shofar sound, the seventh shofar sound, okay, let me rephrase that. Am I saying that the sixth shofar sound, the sixth seal, and the sixth bowl of wrath is to happen next? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we are staring right at it, like that. And I'm also suggesting to you that the fifth shofar sound probably only lasts for 5 months. What I'm saying is the nuclear cord, string, is being tightened, and tightened down harder and harder and harder. I could be wrong, but I do believe that they are planning on, well, listen to my previous video. If I say what I think they're going to do in the next few months, they're going to strike my video on YouTube. So listen to the last video on BitChute, and I think, is there anything else I need to look at before I go? Then Russians are saying that this latest event justifies the use of nukes. Okay, so we're very, very close to the end. if you haven't figured it out by now. Don't be like your preachers who think that the first shofar sound hasn't even been blown yet. In fact, you see what I'm saying? They don't even believe that the first seal has been pulled back. It's sad. They're way, 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 way behind. Way behind, folks. But you don't need to be. Alright? So that's the end of this video.